Hi, I'm Michael Lang, and I am co-creator of this book called Living Together, Separating, Divorcing, Surviving During a Pandemic. And today I'm going to be talking with one of the contributors to this book, Georgia Daniels, who wrote a piece called Parenting While Angry. And you can find that on page 105 of the book. Hi, Georgia. Welcome. So before we talk a little bit about your advice for families, the things that you think you might be able to help them think through and uh, as they struggle with their own relationship issues and then the larger problems as well of the pandemic. Before we do that, so that viewers know a little bit about who you are, just tell us about your background, your experience, and what it is that the kind of services that you provide.
Okay. Well, I was born at the Huntington Hospital in Pasadena, California, and my parents both had careers. When I was 14 or 15, it was obvious that my parents' marriage was going south. My junior year in high school, they were in litigation the entire year. It was awful. And so I went on, I tried to create my own life as a dancer and dance therapist and moved to Seattle. And while I was there, I read a piece in the Seattle Times about this new thing called divorce mediation. And that was what piqued my interest because it seemed like such a more humane way of separating when life requires people to separate. So long story short is that I ended up going to law school. I went through a conventional legal career for quite a while, even in the US Navy Reserves, and I burned out. And I moved back to California and started teaching. And in some ways, teaching turned into my true love. There were parts of it that I really, really liked and parts that I did not much care for. But at one point when I was meditating, I started thinking about meditation and mediation, and I sort of felt this call to go back to mediation. So I started slowly doing some volunteer mediation, and eventually I opened my own private practice in Pasadena, and I've been mediating now for I think 15 years. And I'm no longer teaching full time, but I learn from my clients all the time. Each family is different.
Right. Each is unique, and as we talk and you offer advice, we recognize, don't we, that the advice is as best we can, useful, practical, but each family is going to take that advice and use it in their own unique ways. Or it won't. In some instances, the particular advice just isn't applicable to that family. So with the kind of personal background, but also your professional, your career, what sort of things, as you are working with clients and talking with them during the pandemic, as they separate, or in fact may already have separated prior to the lockdown, what sort of things are you talking with them about? What kind of advice are you giving to them?
Well, sometimes it doesn't even seem like the advice that I can give based on my experience is appropriate to what's happening right at the moment. Particularly when I talk with families who don't have much income and they have to go to work and they have to scramble for childcare and they have to scramble to teach their kids at home in the evening when they're tired after all of what they have to do to maintain their jobs a day. This is not an easy time to be a parent. And I do believe it's important to be able to kind of be able to have some boundaries and disconnect. And if the feelings get too hot, to just be able to say, let's take a moment to breathe a little bit. But really, when I think about it, the parents right now are facing things that I didn't have to face when I was a single parent. I had it rough when I was a single parent working as a lawyer and coming home to a somewhat needy child. But it was so different compared to having to not only be the worker, the provider, and the teacher for the kids. And that I totally understand why parents don't want to send their children back to school before they can be assured that the schools are safe. I totally get that. But these couple of years, this past school year and the one coming up, are going to be difficult. And it require a lot of commitment from both the kids, the parents, and the school districts to make sure that the kids can get the education that they need.
Yeah, because as everybody agrees, no matter what position they may take about the opening of schools and how schools should be opened and so on, everybody agrees that the children need to be back in school, meaning in an educational framework, in an educational setting, whatever that might look like. And especially for the kind of families you're talking about who rely on the schools not simply to educate their children, but it gives the parents the opportunity to go off to work and to earn the money they need desperately to take care of the expenses so that they have a place to live, they have food on the table.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we're talking about families who are stressed because they may be thinking about separating.
Mm-hmm.
They have been thinking about it before the lockdown. They may have already separated and are struggling to make decisions. And in that process, we know, and they experience the ups and the down, the emotional ups and downs, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So they've got that stress. And one of the things that you talk about, particularly and you've alluded to this today and also spoken about it in your contribution to the book, about what parents need to, that it's understandable that parents would be angry. Angry with each other, angry at the lockdown, angry at the financial struggles that they're facing, maybe even angry that they have to keep wearing face masks and using hand sanitizer, whatever it might be, but it's understandable. It's not surprising. So, what are some things they can do to manage their anger so they can be responsible toward one another and responsible toward their children?
That's an excellent question. And I only say things that work for me are actually a shower. Go just get the water to rinse it right off. Breathing. I just mentioned breathing a little bit, but I have since learned about something called 5-finger breathing, which you breathe in and out and in, out for all 5 fingers. And by the end of it, maybe things starting to settle down just a little bit, enough maybe so that you can at least say, I can't talk about this right now. I go for a walk. Would you please watch or do or whatever? So it's hard. There is no doubt about it. It is hard to be raising kids right now. And yet we have them and they're wonderful. And they deserve our best. So even when exhausted, if you can find just a little bit more to give to try and bring a smile to the child's face, that's excellent. And sometimes that's too much. And it's okay to say, I'm overwhelmed right now. Let's talk about this later. Tonight, tomorrow, at 5:15 tomorrow. But sorry, my dog.
Great. So there are two things, if I may.
Yeah.
One, how important it is, because so often you hear professionals say to people, oh, just say to the other person, you need to take a break and you'll continue the conversation. But you've added something that's so important, which is a date and time when it's going to continue. So it doesn't feel to the other person as though you're just pushing them away. In fact, what you're doing is saying, I can't do it right now, and I will do it at this time in this place. Really important advice, Georgia.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I was intrigued by was this. Because we hear so often the advice, just count to 10. But what this does is it combines the counting to 10 with something that you're doing physiologically, namely taking some deep breaths to try to calm yourself, because that's the goal of counting to 10. And it has both benefits. It's both the counting and the physiological part. Because and the idea about taking a shower, I think is, for some people they like baths, they don't like showers. For some people they will say, well, we don't have a shower, and what you're saying is, look, think about this in a general sense, right? It's not about for some people taking a shower feels great, but it's about taking it's a break. It's doing something for yourself.
Yeah.
It's a short period of time. And it's stepping away from the immediate present. Are there other things like that either you've suggested to clients or they've told you that they use in order to calm themselves so that they can function as they want to function in dealing with their spouse or with their kids?
Nothing's coming up right now about that. Each family has different things that they do for fun, different things that they do to calm themselves, for self-soothing, as Woody Mostyn would say. But yeah, another thing that is concerning to me as a former teacher is the quality of education and how kids need to be and be challenged to learn. And then it's so wonderful when their eyes light up and I get it. Yeah, that's really wonderful. And in LA County where I live, 40 to 50% of the middle school and high school students did not sign in when all of their learning was supposed to be online. Mm-hmm. And that it's not really what we're talking about here, but on the other hand, it is, because it's a pandemic reality. And what can we do to help kids maintain that natural excitement about learning when they're in front of a screen all day.
And one of the things that we're talking about, and your advice to parents is, if you can figure a way, small little ways to take care of yourself, you're going to be more available to your child and more able to help your child with the learning, with everything else, but we're really talking about learning right now.
Yeah, I don't know. And some, there are different ways of learning, and most Americans tend to be visual learners, but some are auditory learners. They learn mostly by hearing. My only child is an auditory learner, and some are kinesthetic learners. Hello again.
Yes, you faded out a bit, and now we're back. So we're going to stop in just a minute, Georgia, but I wondered if there was any final words you wanted to leave with, just for today, final words, final words from you. Any final thoughts that you wanted to share?
Well, I just hope that when parents are separating and divorcing, that they really put their children's welfare first. It's so much more important than how the assets are divided, because the children, they want to love each parent, and they want to hear and feel loved by each parent. And so things that they could do would be to make sure that the kids feel appreciated.
Great. That's a marvelous way to end this conversation. Georgia Daniels, thanks so much for talking with me today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And for contributing to the book. I'm very grateful to you. Thanks.